This is not the video I wanted to make today. No, not at all. Actually, yesterday I was going to make a video about this, a different topic I was going to do, but I was at the dentist and that's a big thing. But I was going to make a video about my overall analysis of the whole CGC scam fraud thing, and that was going to be it. That was going to be the last video I made on it because I figured, it was done. Nothing else was going to happen. Boy, was I wrong, and good thing I waited because that would have been terrible if I made the video. I'm like, I'm done with this thing. It's over with. This is my final comment on it, and then this comes out today. Man, CGC, So what's happening, this was brought on by 99 Newsstand. He tweeted this out or whatever, commented on this Instagram, and this was by a guy named Paul Lesko. I'll show you in a second. But basically, there's a lawsuit happening with CGC because CGC's own employees have been scamming people, literally stealing books from customers, you, me, people out there, stealing customers and then claiming them as their own. And not only that, but fraudulently making new labels for them to get higher grades. Yes, that is the lawsuits that's going on with CGC right now. I mean, even my dad was like texting me about it. And yeah, so it's kind of like, it's crazy because the very funny thing is Matt Nelson was literally on 99's Newsstand podcast talking about like, oh, no. It's not, nothing's going on with our employees. Oh, we're good there. Like, he was talking because they asked like, oh, this could have been an inside job. Oh, definitely not. Definitely. There is nothing about that. Meanwhile, there's a lawsuit going on, and it's like straight up just like, that's what really made me mad about Matt Nelson. Just this like dodging every question, not giving honest answers, just like very corporate speak. And that was like the kind of thing that I was like, ugh. Like, it was just so corporate sounding. I can't really get into that right now. It's an ongoing investigation, blah, blah. Like, oh, then why are you on this podcast? But neither here nor there. I mean, I personally reached out to him. He didn't want to talk to me. That was like a month ago. But anyways, CGC lawsuit. Let's get into that. It's pretty crazy, wild stuff. Okay, so I'll put me down here in the corner. But anyways, this is Paul Lesko. He's talking about it. It's called CGC versus Brandon and Ayana Terez. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that name wrong, but I don't really care. You guys are terrible people. So I hope I pronounce it wrong. Anyways, so here it is. Here is the official complaint, lawsuit that is going on right now. And this guy breaks it down, and I'll kind of go along with you. I've kind of read through some of this a little bit, but I'll go through with you on this. So it's dated today, or at least that's when this guy posted it. So the lawsuit is brought on against two employees. It was, I guess, a husband and wife or boyfriend, girlfriend. They both worked there. He worked in the grading department, if I can remember correctly, and she worked in the shipping receiving. So basically it talks about how they were violating CGC's policy because they were selling CGC books fraudulently and stealing them from customers. Basically means they stole and sold stuff using CGC labels to basically turn a profit. I'm not going to go through everything. This one basically talks about what CGC is. It's a very long thing. This talks about like, this one right here talks about how the company came to be, and here's what the labels look like and all that kind of stuff. You got to put that in there. Talks about the trademarks, this is just basically talking about what the books look like with graded labels. So, the people in the court can know, because not everyone's going to know what a CGC is, even know what comic books are. But here, this is how he breaks it down. He says, but anyways, it looks like Brandon Terez was a comic book grader with CGC, and his wife, Anya, worked in receiving and verify items from eBay and getting those to grader. So he talks about receiving from eBay. Maybe that's eBay has like an authentication process where you can send it to an authenticator to make sure it's like legit, or I don't know. I've never actually used eBay's thing, but I know they have something like that out there. I know I have a friend that sells shoes, and it's a similar thing. You have to send it to eBay, and eBay like verifies it. I don't know if it actually goes to eBay. It might go to someone like a CGC or something like for shoes, and they verify it, make sure it's legit so people aren't getting scammed on shoes. So she would get this stuff in. Apparently as the condition of their employment, CGC employees, now this is important, with only 4 sales exceptions, cannot commercially deal in collectibles. So you cannot deal with CGC collectibles. Now, I don't know if that is all collectibles, if that's CGC graded. Like if someone works at CGC, can they use CBCS like as a grading service and sell that way? Not sure. But they said with 4 sales exceptions, with the exception of 4 permissible sales. Oh, here it is. Okay, as a condition of employment, I'm going to read that thing. With the exception of 4 permissible sales transactions a year. So, I guess as an employee, you can sell 4 things a year. Why 4 things? Why not 0? Why not as much as you want? Not really sure, but only 4. It's very odd. Okay, so here's the next part. As a CGC employee, you can submit a maximum of 20 of your own items for grading for free a year. So CGC, as an employee, you get 20 free grading items. Not sure if that is, can I send the good stuff? Or is it just like modern books? Or what exactly it is? Things like that. So during the investigation, the Brandon guy apparently admitted to stealing 23 customer-submitted comic books from CGC. Let that sink in. He stole 23 customer books from people. So, I guess that's one way to get a book instead of like buying it and having to grade it himself. But yeah, 23 books. So I believe here are some pictures of the books. So as part of the alleged scheme, let's read this part. As part of the alleged scheme, Brandon took customer-submitted comic books, discarded the books, CGC graded wrapping and barcodes, so got rid of the cases and whatnot. And then he submitted stolen books for a graded and sold the books on eBay or trade sales where he got about $27,000. Looks like there's a Hulk 1 in there, a Green Lantern, 87 First John Stewart. For 7 of those stolen books, Brandon was unsatisfied with the grade. So he obviously took those stolen books, discarded all the CGC stuff, all that, and then regraded them. And he was unsatisfied with the grade. So what did he do? He basically forged a label. He works at the company. He's like, oh, this came back a 6.0. I think it should be an 8.0. Just made up an 8.0 label, slapped it on, and sold it. He alleged to submitting 5 comic books under Anya's name for grading, which included a Spider-Man 129, a Spider-Man 16, and a Hulk 181, Batman 251, and a Silver Surfer #1. It appears that Brandon may have gotten caught when he sent an email to a CGC outside investigator. Oops. This talks about how Anya worked in the eBay department. I didn't even know they had an eBay department. Here are 2 books that were alleged stolen. Right here, this picture of an Action 1000. The complaint alleges that she consigned 5 comic books encapsulated with CGC graded labels to Comic Link, 4 of which were stolen and 1 was swapped. So they did send 5 comic books to Comic Link. So right here, this one talks about how CGC believes that there's more out there, and they are just admitting to the handful that they actually did, and there's probably a lot more out there, which, let's be honest, it probably is true. There's way more than that. CGC obviously wants to shut it down, and yeah, that's pretty much the entire thing. So yeah, that's kind of like the whole lawsuit in a nutshell, so to speak. If you want to go read the actual stuff, you can over on his X page, Twitter page. But yeah, so it's just kind of funny that, Matt Nelson, there's nothing really going on. There's no inside job. Literally, there's an inside job happening as he was saying that. Obviously, he probably didn't want to because they probably investigated this and knew about this before this lawsuit actually happened. So he knew about it when he was talking about it. So definitely lots of shenanigans going on. I don't know why they don't have better metrics out there. They need to have that's what I always think about. It's you're not dealing in like cell phone cases, right? Someone steals one. It's like, oh, it costs us, sell for $20. We get it from China for $1. Whoop-de-doo, right? You're selling books on there that could be, it could be a $5 book, or it could be, a $5 million book. To me, you think you would have better things in place for this not to happen. And the fact that this husband and wife were getting away with it, and they were probably not the only ones. Let's be honest. CGC existed for, 20-something years, and they're this sloppy now. Imagine where they were 10 or 15 years ago, how sloppy their operation was. So, they've lost packages from us. And I'm like, what kind of system do you have in place where we send it to you, it gets there, you sign for it, you have it, you received it, and then you lose it completely? Maybe it's that guy just stole our entire box. I don't know. And it's like, think of all these customers. Like, it probably happened like the customer called, be like, where's my book? Oh, I don't know where it is. That's interesting. It was gone. It's gone. Where did it go? Who knows? Obviously got stolen. Books just don't get up and walk away somewhere. So obviously it got stolen. And if this was going on, this was 27 books or something like that. 27 times, you think you would just be like, this is very odd that all these books are going missing. Like, it's odd in general if a book goes missing. Just one. So you think it just keeps on happening. You'd be like scratching your head and like, oh, someone's obviously stealing. We need to get to the bottom of this right away. But, all you'd have to do is go, all right, these books are missing. Who's working that day? Did anyone come in that wasn't, working, but just came in to see friends or whatever? Just see who's working. And then there you go. And then you narrow it down to all those employees, and then you just watch those employees. There's going to be some kind of pattern. But yeah, well, at least there's definitely way more, but he only admitted to those. It's the same thing with CGC saying like, oh, it's only those, the heat gun scam was, 350 books or something like that. There's way more than that, and there's probably way more people doing that. Those are the only people that got caught. So it's like, come on, CGC. Number one, this is, I'm glad that Newsstand 99 is showing all this stuff, but that was kind of like one of the things I was like, I guess a little harsh on. It was like, why didn't you like ask Matt Nelson the same questions I asked CBCS? I was like, look, why don't you change your case? Change your case. And I know why they don't want to, because they probably maybe have a bunch of cases already paid for, and then there's waiting. Like, they could have like $1 million in case inventory that they don't want to get rid of, or, which is the more logical reason, which I think is CGC and all grading companies are a failing business. What I mean by that is in terms of eventually all Fantasy 15s will be graded. There'll be no more bumping up. You can't just, you look at a book and like, it'll get the best grade it's ever gotten eventually, because people will be submitting it, hundreds of thousands of times, so they get the best book. Eventually all ones will be graded. All expensive books will be graded. So the only ones left will be like modern and cheap books. You can't sustain a business off of grading $50 to $100 books. And, eventually comic books as a medium will probably go away in the future. So this business will be declining. So they have to open up more avenues. That's why they have cards and, VHSs and all that kind of stuff, records, all that stuff. But in terms of their comics, it's eventually going to go down because all the good stuff's been graded. And there's no more that you can grade. You can't just make a brand new Action #1, right? That's worth, millions of dollars. So eventually those are all going to be graded. So, they want to try to hold on to this case as long as possible. And then what they'll do is they'll come out with a better case. And then you're like, well, I got to get the better case. So everyone resubmits all their books just to get a better case. So then it's like all those comics get regraded again. And then they'll come out with an even better case 5 or 10 years later after that. And then you regrade everything and all that kind of stuff. That's probably why they're doing it. They know this. So, but yeah, it's just dumb. Just make a better case. Make a better case. Like, vet your employees better. You don't pay them that much. That's the problem. They get like minimum wage in Florida or slightly above minimum wage. So they're not really making that much. You would think if someone's handling $1 million comics, $500,000, whatever it is, maybe you think you should pay them more. You should have better employees, not to the point where it's like, God, this job sucks and I'm barely living in this 1-bedroom studio and can barely make it by on ends meet. Well, why don't we just steal these comics? They're like $20,000 a piece. So I don't know. I remember I looked up. It was in. So Heritage has a Beverly Hills office, and I remember I was just looking at something and I saw an ad for Heritage in the shipping department in Beverly Hills. $15 an hour, which was, I think, $1 over minimum wage at the time for California. $15 an hour. And I'm like, these people ship out hundreds of $1,000 items, $1 million items. I don't know. Maybe there's like a tier of shipper. You know, you only ship out the cheap stuff. I don't know. But still. And I'm like, you should probably pay them more because Heritage makes so much money. But you probably pay them more because you want better employees. You don't want minimum wage employees. You probably want people that are like way more trustworthy. In order to get that, you got to pay them more. So yeah, I was like, yeah, that's way too cheap. Way too cheap. It's way too little. So I know that CGC is similar, you know, and it's like, dude, you got like you got bought out for $500 million. You guys have money. Start spending it on things that matter. Start spending on better employees. Give them better pay. Next, you should also make better cases. That should be your first priority. Make better cases. That's all I'm asking. Literally, make better cases that literally, like, once they get broken open, everyone knows. Everyone knows. It's like, wow, this is definitely broken open. This is, put in some safeguards. Like, who cares? Like, that was the thing that kind of bugged me about CBCS. I talked about it. It's like, oh, well, you don't understand. There's margins, and it's going to cost us more to make the case. Charge more. Charge more. People would gladly pay it. And it's like, I just don't understand that. Just charge more. And guess what? CGC came out with like, oh, we're lowering our prices. You're lowering your prices? Okay, great. Now everyone still has those easily fraudable cases. Why don't you, instead of lowering your prices, make better cases? And it's like, I understand it takes time to make a case. Why don't you come out with a statement? Look, we understand that the community is very upset. And we've done a lot of internal reflection on our cases and not knowing it. So we're taking massive steps and we're going to come out with a brand new case, I don't know, end of the year, mid-year, whatever, just to give it somewhat of a timeline. Say that you're working on a new case, not just gloss it over and not say anything at all. That's one of the things with like 9/9 Newsstand. I was like, just straight up ask it. And someone was saying that they had the questions ahead of time, which I had to do with CBCS as well, but they were okay with them. And I still obviously deviated from that and asked the most important questions like, look, people send books to you to get graded. And once you grade this book and it goes off of your hands, your stamp of approval is on it. So it doesn't matter how many hands it changed, like through eBay, through Comic Link, whatever. You are guaranteeing that this is what it is. But if people can just break it open, as soon as it leaves your hands and someone can just break it open and change everything about it, it's like, what's the point of even having it graded to begin with? Nothing. It means nothing. Actually, it's actually more a detriment because now someone gets it in and it's like, well, now I have to crack this open to see if it's missing a page or a coupon or it's restored or something like that. It's just maddening. CGC, you're worth at least $500 million because someone bought you for that. Do something with that money. Stop just buying more yachts and airplanes and all this kind of stuff, whatever the hell you do with all that money, and invest it into things and make your system better. Make your system better. Make your cases better. Just be better. It's not that hard. It's not that difficult. I'm not asking you to move a mountain here. It's literally just take some time, put a bounty on the case, like I said, but people seeing it like CGC and CBCS seeing it's a bad idea. Put a bounty in. It's like, well, we don't want people breaking in our cases. Well, yeah, you have to get in the mindset of a fraudster. Give it to Immaculate Comics. I'm sure there's other people out there like that and like, hey, break into this case. We'll give you like $5,000. You can get them $5,000 in like grading fees, whatever. You don't have to give them cash and be like, break into this case, show us how you did it, show us how we can improve it. Then boom, get it back. Okay, we can do this, this, and this, and this, and this. Send it again and again. And eventually you'll have the ultimate case. Not that hard. Obviously, there's going to be people who always try to break into it and always do that. But you can always try to be one step ahead of the thief. There's things you could do in the cases that would make it literally, all you need to know is if it's broken into. Right? Obviously, you can't make something, you'd have to make it out of like steel so no one can really break into it. But you don't want that. You just want to make it, if someone did tamper with it, you would know about it. You would know that they did. And that's why I never understood about CBCS when I did that interview. It's like, tell me the tall tale signs of what it looks like. Tell me. Tell dealers. Put it on your website. Look, because this is like, you need to do this for collectors in the community. Just be like, look, if someone tries to break in your case, these are some avenues that they'll probably try to use. And these are what you need to look for. Show a video, show pictures. So at least as me as a dealer, when I'm selling in my auction, because we have auctions, I can look at the case and go, oh, CGC said to look at, like, if you look up at this corner and you see something like this, then I know it's probably been tampered with. Then I can say, at least in my listing, be like, this probably could have been tampered with. Or I could contact the original consignor and be like, I'm not going to sell it because it could be tampered with. Whatever, but at least show us, dealers, the people in the community, other collectors, like when they're buying a book off eBay, things like that. It's like what to look for, because people aren't, it's not the $50 books that people are concerned about. It's the fact that it's like some people put their entire life savings. I talked to a customer earlier. He was one of the people that spent 20 grand on one of those books that ended up being a fraudulent sale. Whatever it was before, maybe missing a coupon restored, or a lower grade like a 9.4, not a 9.8. But that person's out 20 grand. Those are the ones that people are concerned about. They're not concerned about your modern $50 book. It's like, oh well, yeah, it sucks, but it's like I got this $50 modern book and it's actually a 9.6, so now it's $35. Obviously that sucks, but it's not a big deal. It's like, yeah, I bought this $20,000 book. Now it's worth $1,000 because it's really a 9.4. That's what people are concerned about. Those people handsomely would pay for extra security. But no, CGC, CPCS, they don't want to do that. I don't know why. Oh, it could cost too much money. You have to understand margin. I run a business. Just make it more expensive. People pay for it. You can still keep your smaller cases for modern books, like your more fraudulent cases, whatever, for modern books if you wanted to. And then have like, oh, do you want to upsell to the Fort Knox case or wherever it is, or just change all the cases altogether? Do something. I don't know. And this wasn't meant to be a rant, but it turned out to be a rant. And I want to do my ending video of all of this, wrapped up. But, things like this keep on happening, and CGC keeps on fumbling the ball. I don't understand, with a company that makes so much money, how this is possible. Like, it doesn't, like, I understand if you were like a small business, like you don't have the money and the resources to do stuff like that. You're a giant corporation worth $500 million. I know the parent company is worth $500 million, but it bleeds down. Just so annoying. So annoying. It's not like, my hands are tied, I can't do anything. You can do something. You literally could do something. Matt Nelson could come on and he could say, he should come on my show, but he won't. And he should come on and say, look, this is what we're going to do going forward. These are the issues that we have. This is what's going on right now. We are going to address every single issue, and we're going to do our best we can, and this is what we're going to do going forward, and this is what you can look out for in the community. Stuff like that. Not hard. Not hard. It would literally just put most people at ease, and then all you have to do is make the case after that, the actual making of the case. But you could come out with that, and then you could take a year. You could take a year designing this case, or whatever you're doing, and that would satisfy enough people as long as they know that you're actually trying to do something. Eventually, you actually have to do something. But it's not that hard. But instead, he comes on the show and he says basically nothing at all and gives people an award. And then they talk about fluff stuff. Literally, whatever. CGC started out, as a small little company, and we're great in the community, blah, 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 blah. It's like, if this was any other podcast where you're just hanging out as friends, sure, great. But when people want to know answers and you're coming on the show because people want answers, give them answers.